Good afternoon. My name is Peter, and I just wanted to tell you a little bit about myself and what I want to do in the future as far as burnout's concerned. I'm an 11-year veteran emergency department nurse who worked through COVID. As you all know, COVID took a huge toll on our healthcare system and healthcare departments all over the country. I don't think people realize how close to collapse our healthcare system was. Just on the backs of the workers that worked in the system at the time was so stressful, not to mention resource management, leadership, all the things, right? But that's not my focus here today. My focus here today is going to be burnout. So recently I worked in a department for almost 5 years. Yeah. I made that department my life. I did. I made the people in that department my family. I'm a contract travel nurse traveling 2,000 miles away from my home. And I just kind of entrenched myself in that department because I saw what that emergency department was capable of, and I thought that it could do better, right? That things could improve for the patients and for my coworkers that are around me. I was in a leadership role in that department as a charge nurse and did that for about 3 years after being there for almost 5. There were times in the department where I chose the job over family. Not times. I did that a lot of times. And as an emergency department nurse, the camaraderie is different than other jobs, like in corporate America or anything like that. Because what ends up happening is you want to set boundaries, but you don't set boundaries because you bond so closely with the people in an emergency department that you trauma bond, right? You take care of patients at their worst and never at their best, but at their worst. I mean, most patients you see are having a bad day, but there are some patients that you're seeing, it's the worst day of their life, that their life changed tremendously. They didn't wake up expecting to see you in the emergency department, but here they are, right? Either by car accident, heart attack, trauma, GSW, what have you. And you work closely with coworkers and you form bonds because you work together to save lives, is what you're doing. It is very stressful on nursing. It is very stressful on the ancillary departments, such as housekeeping, such as tech, such as physicians, such as everything. Everything is very stressful because you work in an environment where an error, a mistake, any wrong footing could cost a patient their life, right? Could cause injury. That's not like most jobs. It's not. You end up becoming numb to your own needs, your family's needs, and your friends' needs. And the only thing you focus on is the department and what the department needs and how you can better serve that department because you want to help your coworkers because you've trauma bonded. You're not going to call out, and you don't call out because you're worried about how the workload will affect your coworkers. You know your coworkers are going to have to work harder. An emergency department can't close, right? An emergency department can't close beds. It can't defer patients. Because EMTALA is there to make sure that we are seeing patients with need. Yeah? So that doesn't mean you can look at them at the front door and say, hey, turn around and go the other way. You're not needed here. You can't do that. And for that reason, no matter how many people are on the floor working, no matter how many call-outs, no matter how much you're short staffing, you will still see that load of patients, be it in 1 hour, 6 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours. You are still going to work. There are times in the emergency department where a lot of people can't take a lunch and won't take a lunch because they don't want to leave their patients' sides. They don't want to stop the workflow because stopping the workflow or taking a break could impact patients. These are all kinds of preconceived notions that we have in emergency medicine, yeah? And a lot of them are very true. But for that, an ER, and really any job anywhere right now, particularly in today's climate, burnout is a real thing. Yeah? At my old job, they used to talk about burnout, do this, do that, lunches, yada, yada, yada. Well, a 30-minute lunch is not going to cure burnout, right? You know what cures burnout? What cures burnout is allowing your staff to have days off, allowing your staff to set professional boundaries, not getting angry at your staff because they don't come in extra when you ask for help, or getting angry when they call out or need a mental health day. That helps burnout. Supporting the staff, making sure there's adequate people on the floor to take care of the patients. That way the staff's not having to kill themselves to do it, right? That is really what helps burnout. But once you've been a nurse for as long as I have, you find that there's not a lot of leaders in leadership that will come to your aid, I guess, that will see that burnout and say, okay, this is when we fix it. A lot of leaders are just trying to keep their heads above water, right? So I wanted to start this series on burnout and form a community around it so we can support one another. Because talking to each other, you know, in the ways that we do in the ER, because a lot of people don't understand the ER mentality, the dark humor. They're going to see a emergency room staff member as being lewd, as being rude. And this can apply anywhere, right? Whatever you do on your job. But the dark humor, it's been proven to be a coping mechanism. It helps us get through. It helps us separate. It helps us keep going for the next 6 hours, right? That dark humor, that smiling, that running a code at 11 p.m. and eating a sandwich right afterwards. Because you have to disassociate. You have to warding off the part of your brain that wants to be sympathetic to the patient, that wants to cry with the patient, that wants to hurt and have heartbreak. All that has to be cordoned off, right? That has no place in emergency medicine. It has its time, but during a code, it has no place. But that's why I wanted to create this series. I wanted to create a community where we can come together and talk to one another without judgment and vent to one another about our different jobs. And this isn't just particularly for healthcare. Healthcare is my specialty, but burnout affects people all across the diatribe, right? It affects everybody across from working at McDonald's to working in corporate America to working at the stock exchange to working in healthcare. Burnout is real on so many different levels. And I feel like the temperature of our nation right now, everybody's just trying to stay afloat. Everybody's being touched by burnout, and burnout is becoming a rampant epidemic that nobody is stopping. And a lot of times it boils down to leadership and resource management, truly. As far as I'm concerned, healthcare is my specialty, so I can see it from that perspective, but I'd like to hear from others who have the corporate perspective. What does burnout look like in your realm? What does burnout look like in corporate America? What does burnout look like in McDonald's? What does burnout look like in a hospital in Alaska, right? What is your experience with burnout? Let's come together and support one another in that way. Again, my name is Peter. I'm an emergency medicine nurse. I've been working in this field for 11 years. So I'm a veteran. So let me tell you, burnout has almost taken me out a few times. So until the next video, this is me introducing myself and getting things started. Hope to talk to you real soon.